When one member of your household does not like sherbet, and the other member of your household is on a 30-day diet, it means you get to eat the sherbet right out of the container. I'm a dummy. Captain's log, May 27th, and I just discovered that if I pull down the top of my phone while I'm recording, it does certainly, right there in front of my face, display the date. So there we are. I am a dum-dum head. Anyways, yesterday was uneventful. I just finished scene 4, which was very exciting. Today was more experimental. Still working out the kinks of how I write songs, because obviously I have not written songs with actual words prior to now, and that's been a challenge. I learned today that I need to simplify. I get caught up in the orchestration too quickly if I try to put too many instruments in at once. Now, to some extent, that was very useful in figuring out how I wanted the song to sound and what direction I wanted. But, backtracking from today, there was a fun point in the day where I discovered that a chord I had been using was actually a different chord than I thought it was, and it changed the entire way that I was thinking of that part of the song. If you're interested, I'm in D minor, and I was playing what looked to me to be an inverted diminished 6 chord, which I suppose would have worked, but when I really took a look at it, it was not the chord I was actually wanting to use there. What I actually wanted was the 2 diminished chord, which is actually a diatonic chord in the key of D minor. It created an ascending chromatic sound in the right hand of the piano. I'll give you a sneak preview of what that sounds like in a moment. But long story short, now that I know what the song should sound like, I'm going to come up with the outline and structure of the song on piano, which always seems to help me. I am a detail-oriented person, and thus I can get carried away with the details, but it always helps me when I force myself to get the full outline out and get the big picture sorted out before I try to go too nitty-gritty. So that's the next step. Guess who I get to hang out with today?
After many hours strenuously parking a large car, Ezra arrives on the scene.
Hey, Diamond.
Funny thing is, I never knew Ezra had the capability of looking scary, but if I saw that running at me...
Squeegee!
Is it on?
Yes.
Just sitting here with this purloined capo. Purloined? Stolen.
What's that ice cream flavor? Praline.
Praline. Praline is like a flavor. It's a kind of candy made from brown sugar mostly.
My fungus has grown.
It's growing so much.
I am now adding blue to it because the green was running out and it was hard to differentiate the layers, colors. We wrote, you can't see it, but this is the Peacekeepers anthem. Have I explained? Explain what the Peacekeepers are.
Well, there we have to get into some deep themes of like the totalitarian nature. So I don't know how much you've told the blog.
I don't think I've
What's
mentioned
it
the Peacekeepers by name since.
But you've told something about the setting, like the forest. Before the time that the story technically starts, it's referred back to near catastrophic event.
She just like obstacle coursed her way under my desk.
Anyway, where was I? Yes. Due to a near catastrophic event in the forest's history, the creator and manager of the forest, a sort of a sylvan or woodland deity, if you will, has created this race of enormous moths, these military staffs, and they go around keeping the peace. And it starts out as like a protective measure in case I won't spoil anything, but in case the source of the catastrophe returns. Anyway, they have this anthem that is sort of recurrent in the musical. Actually, I don't think it's recurrent at all. I think it's just heard once.
I think it might be sung once, maybe.
It might be sung once, maybe.
So yeah, they're a race of creatures to protect from the villain, but in the absence of the villain's return, they have become, I guess, the sheriffs in town?
You know, if you've ever imagined a giant moth that was also a sheriff,
I can't say I have.
do it now. Imagine the moth, but giant and also a sheriff, but in a Celtic mystical way.
Is it worth it to get my tripod?
No. I'll just shorten myself. I look like I have a giant shoulder, which is not necessarily a bad look.
It's also not an accurate look. You don't particularly have large shoulders.
I have very small shoulders. I have famously small shoulders.
This is the bass part I wrote for the piano. I was talking on Captain's Log yesterday about how I got hung up on details. These are the details I got hung up on. First, I played the little riff, the beginning riff, on
Oh, accordion?
accordion. But I have it in a different key for some reason. Which, when you play the melody, doesn't sound like a bad lead-in. Right?
That's actually really good harmonically. It would be amazing if all through this Celtic folksy musical we had modern drum beats.
Right?
Captain's Log, Friday, May 29th. I tried something new today. Yesterday, when Ezra brought the lyrics over, they came in sort of two parts. One of the parts we took and composed a melody for it and some chords to go with it live together yesterday. And then the other part I knew was going to be slightly more complicated, and I didn't know where I wanted to go with that, so I saved it for today. Since I had the words, I had the structure, instead of trying to map out chords, I don't even know what key I was in. I just set up the microphone and started singing whatever popped into my head in terms of melody. I Frankensteined some of that together to make one singular melody that I was okay with, and then I improv'd some harmonies. The reason for this roughness being I know Ezra's planning on going back and revising some of those lyrics, which may change the meter and thus change how I set up the song, so I didn't want to spend too much time on it, but I needed to give him a clear idea of what it was going to sound like for him to do that. It was actually quite freeing to be able to go quickly through that and just kind of throw thoughts against the wall and not really have to be slowed down by figuring out what it is I'm doing, which is super helpful when I'm trying to compose something on the piano. But when it's vocal, for me it's significantly faster to just sing what I hear, because that's what I've always done for most of my life before I knew anything about music theory. And to some extent I do that with piano as well. I first have to come up with something that I think sounds good, and I sort of play by ear, but eventually I do have to figure out what I'm doing on the piano, because inevitably, and this has happened, as I write, I run into roadblocks where I'm not sure what I want to do with it, how I want it to develop, or even why certain things don't sound good, and how to fix them. So the ball for this song is in Ezra's court now. I'm very excited to see what he does with it. So I'm applying to some jobs online. It makes me so angry how inefficient this is. Every place asks me for my work experience, and it's like, I uploaded my resume as a PDF file to you because you asked for that, and now you're asking me to just type out my entire resume, again, to you specifically, for some reason. And another thing, what are they trying to prove with this questionnaire? Wait, okay, wait. Question 8. It is smart to flatter the people in power because then they give you what you deserve. What do you mean? The ones like these are the ones that make me... Honesty is not the best policy if you want to get ahead. Now, Obviously, they don't want me to agree with that statement because it means that I'm a dishonest person. However, in some cases, there are people who have gotten ahead by lying. So from a purely factual point of view, it's an accurate statement. And so if I'm someone like that who does not treasure honesty and wants to get ahead at all costs, I'm going to naturally lie on that question so that they don't think I'm a dishonest person. It's like, what do they expect to gain from asking that question? And wouldn't you be able to gauge something like that from an in-person interview? That's my point. Why do you need this? You're wasting people's time. You're wasting your time, you're wasting my time. You're wasting people's time. Stop doing that.
So, I have used, no exaggeration, my literal entire day trying to get a job and have nothing to show for it at the end of the day. I've called about a half dozen places, applied to all of them online, because that's the stupid thing. You call a place without applying online, and the first thing they ask you is, have you applied online? Go do that and we'll give you a call back, which of course they never call back, you have to follow up. But if you try to preemptively take care of that and go ahead and apply online so that when you call and they ask, have you applied online, you can say, yes, I have. Half of the places you call have already hired those positions that they have listings for online. So you spent, 15, 20 minutes, it's ridiculous how long it takes.
You're wasting people's time.
To apply to a place online for nothing because you call them and they say that position's already filled. I just want a job where I don't have to talk to people. Is that too much to ask? I've been going through the list of what places hire dishwashers because dishwashing is so easy because I get to listen to things while I do it, so it feels like I'm actually being productive and doing something besides just making money. I don't have to talk to anybody, and my natural inclination towards order and organization and efficiency keeps things running smoothly, and I get praised for that because that's a strength that I have. So that's what I'm trying to find, and so far, no luck. I'm hoping as a sort of last resort measure I can go back to Dollar Tree, but I don't know if they're hiring yet, so we shall see. So join me next time on Sam tries to find a job where he doesn't have to talk to people, because people are the worst. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. And then there are all of the questions that fall prey to the complex question fallacy, where something is implied in the asking of the question that has not been previously established as fact. For instance, part of the reason I like action movies is that destroying the enemy would be fun. It's like ignoring what that question is even trying to get at. You're also just assuming I like action movies. What if I like romantic comedies, huh?